Hello everyone. Today is the 60th episode, and I have my lovely guest, Sugeeta Madan, with me. Hi, Sugeeta, how are you doing?
Hi Amit, doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, before I pass it on to Sugita, so like I said, stories that impact 60th episode, and it's amazing because Sugita is also my mentor, by the way, and it's all about. If you see the title, it says "Life is about living," and why is that so? Well, I'll ask Sugita to share more about her, but let me tell you that she has 27 years of HR experience. All right, and from every level of HR into right at the highest post in business HR way. Though at around 2018, she went through some illness. And that's the time she realized that, life is more than the day to day work and all the things that she's been going through. There, she also realized that, she's pushing herself a lot. And then she said that, all right, we're going to take a step back and let's look into our life in a better way. Now, she shares the importance of healing ourselves to transform our lives better. She's a transformation mentor who realized that all of us must live an authentic life for it to be a truly meaningful life. Like I said, she's also mentored me and helped me to take care of many aspects of my life, including my vision, my passion, and help me with nice tips on terms of health. I still remember that tea that you told me, Sugita, for the cholesterol thing. I forgot hibiscus tea.
Hibiscus.
Yep, thank you. So with that, I would love to welcome Sugita once again. Hi, Sugita. So let me ask you this: if you can just help understand your, let's go back a little past. Help us understand your corporate life. If you can, like, what was it, how was it, and what you used to do.
Amit, I started right at the bottom of the rung when I did. And from there, it was consecutively growing, learning. Also had the opportunity of, going through a couple of phases where it was just imperative to learn if the organization had to grow and change. So you can say a lot of the evolution that happened was really facilitated by the environment that my organizations or my employers fostered. And I've had the good opportunity of having worked with some of the great mentors, some fabulous bosses and supervisors. So, they are really instrumental in shaping me in so many different ways, not only at the professional level, but also at the personal level. Couple of days ago, I was talking to somebody and I was telling him that I used to be a very introverted person initially who used to keep judging herself. And till I realized, all of us pass through some of our own battles and we just need to take them head on, go through them, and move ahead. So that is what probably my corporate life has been all about, learning and growing. And there have been numerous opportunities I've been blessed to have been presented. that helped me in learning so many different things. Like, usually, not every HR person gets the opportunity to work into mergers and acquisitions, even, takeovers, discussing funding, or maybe representing your company at board meetings. But I've been through the entire phase of that as well. Lot of stressful times when we were restructuring organizations, and lot of great times when we were also, enjoying with the rest of the employees. And IT industry, as you know, it has got its phases. So we have been through all of them throughout the years.
Wow.
I can only say that I'm blessed.
That's true. No, that's really nice of you. But again, I don't want to sound like a devil here, but just I'm just trying to understand because with an IT background, I have an IT background, and people there is a certain level of stress, right? Now you've been into mergers, acquisitions, and all the different roles or different areas. How did you? What was your day like, if you can explain? A typical
Oh,
worst day, I would say.
Amit, there is no day which is similar to the previous one or the next one. So each day is very different, especially in organizations that are constantly growing or are in the R&D space. I think post 2014, 15, I did go through a lot of stress because my organization was downsizing, we were consolidating, acquiring, and then, getting acquired. And there came a time that, one of the employers that I was working with, they also, they went through a lot of turbulent phase. So those areas are definitely stressful. But a typical day starts early, and by the time you actually put your ignition on for heading towards work, probably you might have already put in a couple of hours of work. And the way things work with global time zones, by the time you reach home, you are just about to start another bout of work. So that was, initially what I can say, the way things used to be a couple of years ago. And to add to that, there is always in a metro the added stress of a commute. So maybe driving 2 hours each way, looking after my family, children, etc. So days have been really busy. Um, in 2018, I decided to, take things a little easier. So a little change has been there, but essentially, while I was in my corporate life, I can say days were quite busy, though not essentially very stressful all the time.
So, what happened in 2018?
I think I've been trying to fix too many things into my life, trying to juggle my corporate career with also certain development programs that I was undertaking. I was also part of a global NGO study, and everything combined together, it ultimately culminated in a kind of a breakdown. And I knew it was coming because for the last couple of years I was not keeping too well. But what I did not really envisage was that there will be a sudden break, and I'll have to, just reset my life all over again. So you can say that 2018 was the turning point after falling sick, that I realized there is more to life than, just running here and there and trying to please the world.
Wow, wow. So 2018, you decided that you're gonna quit, and what was the like? How was how did your family take it through? And were they happy that okay, yeah, now my mother has thought like, all right, she's gonna take care of your health. And what was the thing going in your head? Because when a person quits the job, it's not at that moment. The thing starts, the muttering starts after a month when you don't have anything to do now. And you get up in the morning and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have anything. How was that feeling, and how did you manage all that? Did you go through that actually?
Uh, I did not go through that because I had, you know, moved away from one organization, and then a couple of my colleagues had floated a startup, and I joined them. They were my old colleagues from a previous employer, and I had joined them along with investment and all as a stakeholder. So for me, the turning point came somewhere in December 2018 or January 2019, when I realized, I will have to take a step back from all this stress so that I can concentrate more on my own health. So it did not happen that all of a sudden, I decided to move out. And it was a gradual phase from one employer to the other. But probably, it was another 6 months before I realized I need to take things really, really slow. So it was not, a sudden thing.
No, that's actually good, because sometimes it's like either it's forced sometimes, or you actually take a decision and realize that what are you going to do like later on,
Mhm.
right?
True.
But tell me, if you don't mind, could you share what exactly went through with your health conditions that you decided that you got to take that as a very high priority?
Mhm. I had been suffering from an autoimmune disorder for the last, maybe say, 8 or 9 years at that point. So this was basically related to stress because I had done some tests and all, and I realized I was not a carrier for any of these issues. They were more related to lifestyle and a stressful environment. So for me, I simply, uh, it came to a position when my intestines were bleeding and I was unable to eat, I was unable to sleep. And that was a point, it was a complete body breakdown. And needless to say, when your body is going through that phase, your mental makeup is not in a very good place either. You start wondering, am I going to live through this or not? And then certain tests and all really indicated that things were quite bad, and I might have to undergo a couple of surgeries to put things in the right perspective. And this was a very aggressive form of an attack. So had I let things go the way they were going, uh, it would not have really worked out. And I did not want to quote unquote die. So that
Wow.
was indeed a scary part, and I was not really anticipating anything like this to happen.
Yeah, I don't think anyone does. I mean, but it's really scary because you had to actually go through surgeries and stuff, and to get things. I'm sure it doesn't rectify immediately, but there's a long process now that you'll have to take care to get your body back to whatever stage it was, a better one. So
Yeah. So
2019.
I just
Yeah.
like to add here, Amit, I avoided the surgeries.
Oh,
I
okay.
avoided the intensive surgeries. I got away with very little invasive procedures. So that was what I worked upon, time trying to completely revamp my body and uh, my diet, my day-to-day routines, my lifestyle, and it definitely had a huge impact. So I must say that I dodged the bigger surgeries.
Wow, that's interesting. Share something more, like how did you do it, a little more, other than just the lifestyle stages. So what do you do to take care of this?
Amit, I decided to explore certain alternative sources, besides the conventional medical systems.
Hmm.
Because the conventional medical systems, I had lost faith by then. They only believe in managing the situation rather than curing or treating it. And I did a lot of research. I realized that many of our health issues stem from our own, not only bad lifestyle, but our belief systems. And over the years, the amount of negativity and stress that we keep subjecting ourselves to, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally as well, it takes a toll on us. And if we don't purge ourselves of all these things, or rather, we don't heal ourselves, it eventually results in a breakdown. And many of us fail to understand this. So every time we are sick, we just rush and go across to doctors, get a diagnosis, and then there is a surface level treatment. We never go to the bottom of all our health issues. and see what actually ails us. And when I tell that life is all about living, it is because, we never look back into seeing what ails us, what has been piling upon each other, what are the things that are making life toxic for us. So that is what I researched, and I realized that there are alternative systems of medicine, there are alternative procedures, but it all starts with us, within us. And our body is a self healing mechanism or an organism. We just need to discover and use all these systems to start curing ourselves. So it's not only about the physical aspect, a lot of it starts with our head and our thinking.
So, and just so Fatah Khan says you're very powerful, Sugita, truly inspiring. Absolutely. Now,
Thank you, Father.
yeah, I'm gonna probe more. Okay, please bear with me. So we're saying that yes, I completely understand one aspect when you said that lot of things start in the head. Like for not every little thing you gotta go to a doctor or a chemist and pop some pill and take care of it. Now, how do you define uh, a place where you can figure out that okay, not very much, but to a point that okay, how do you first define that okay, for this let's take care of the head part first and understand ourselves, and how do you do that? I mean, what are the things that I need to talk to myself, for example, that tells to my head that hey Amit, listen, let's not pop a pill, let's do something.
Okay. I think this is a situation where we are reactive, but
Hmm.
things should start taking place much before we react to what is happening around us. What happens is there is a complex system of enzymes and hormones in our body. I am not exactly a doctor, so I don't work on those areas. But what I do work upon is going right to the bottom and seeing what is our very specific pain point. Like for some people, it may be that, they were brought up in a very protected environment like us. And like personally, I was not prepared for all the stress and negativity that the world brings about. And for me, it was very important to develop you can say a shell of, or a cover of strength around me so that I don't get hurt by things. The more hurt we subject ourselves to, deeper those wounds run. And, it's all about perceptions. Maybe the kind of environment that we are at present doesn't mean to be harmful, but since we are so sensitive, we perceive things in different ways. And it is very important to bring about that shell around us, or that field of you can say something like what they call a suraksha kavach in Hindi. So something which is protective, and everything bounces away. And that happens only when we work upon our internal strengths, like our mindset, our mental strengths, our physical strengths, emotional strengths, and we keep purging negativity outside. I work with the principle of replacement, replacing anything which is bad with something which is good. So maybe bad thoughts with good thoughts, negativity with positivity, a bad lifestyle with a good lifestyle. And it is not that we can do it all the time. We will still slip into that situation where we need to work upon ourselves again and again. And it is perfectly okay to do that. So if you talk about good health, it's not that we don't eat junk food, but we offset it by eating good food most of the time. And similarly, it is not that we will not be subjected to negativity, bad thoughts, a poor environment. We just need to keep replacing it. So, mental health exercises, having a good frame of mind, meditation. Um, Maybe, say, 4 years, 5 years ago, if somebody told me the benefits of meditation, I would have not really considered it to be something very useful. But today, I realize that spending 1 hour in meditating is equivalent to maybe couple of doctor visits, and even then, you just cannot understand the deep benefits that these things have on us. They completely transform us. It is changing ourselves from within.
Wow. Wow, that's very interesting because it's not just working on ourselves in like, oh, just keep thinking positive and things gonna happen, and just stop eating complete junk food, and you're gonna, because that's testing willpower eventually, right? And I think
True.
what happens with the willpower is that it fails at certain given point of time, because one person cannot have that much. But what you mentioned is a certain way of functioning in which, and I think meditation does help. I agree with you. um I am not a big meditator myself. I'm trying. But whatever 10 minutes, 15 minutes that I do, it just, yeah, it helps. I would love to reach that target of 1 hour of me and me. uh, but tell me, so now you say that you got, people can transform and change themselves by looking within themselves, understanding, and probably they might have some beliefs and stuff, right? So now my next question would be that, what exactly, like you said that there are certain, you're not transformation mentor, right? Let's come to that first. So what do
Yes.
you do there?
uh, Amit, I basically work in healing.
Hmm.
And by healing, I am not talking right now about the surface level things which we do, which are more of cures, right? When we fall sick, we go for treatment.
Hmm.
But what we are talking about right now is deep level cures, like purging things out of our systems completely. And for that, we must always keep reinventing ourselves. If we want to completely reclaim our life, we have to completely reinvent ourselves. And that is something we must do continuously. So I have a complete process, which helps people in taking them right from reassessing their present life to pressing reset to a new life. So we work completely on various methodologies, right from forgiveness, working upon our internal strengths, looking where we have gone wrong, because most of our health issues are related to things that went wrong in our life and we never cured them. We are like that iceberg, a lot of it is completely below the surface and inside us, and we keep things buried. Now, when we keep things buried, it's like debris, it keeps piling. And those layers that are deep within us, we never get to reach them. So at times, what we do is we purge ourselves from the surface. But at the bottom of the pile is where all the problems lie, at our subconscious level. And when we start to purging those, it becomes much lighter. We cure ourselves not only of things like depression, allergies, and negative thoughts and beliefs. It is also a complete transformation of our internal selves. And you will realize, people have suddenly shed weight. It has got less to do with the kind of diet that they are following and more to do with the lightness they brought about into their life by letting go of so many things. So it is that deep level cleansing and clearing that we work upon. So it is a scientific process that we follow. It took me about 3 years to research and come up with it, and the results are simply phenomenal.
Wow. And you said very important thing, that it's healing and not just the treatment in a way, right? Because healing is deep within. Healing is like holistic, completely. Treatment could be one particular aspect of it, and so on and so forth, right? Now, tell me, I just want to take a step back. Just struck me in my head. How do you define stress?
Uh, Amit, There are different definitions of stress,
Hmm.
but anything that disturbs us from a point of equilibrium is stress. There are so many tipping points, and for everyone, the threshold is different. For me, maybe, the pain levels must be really high for me to really actually cry or make a noise. For somebody else, it might be a pinprick. And for you, the threshold may be even much higher. So, all of us have different thresholds. The idea is to discover that threshold and never go to the other side, which creates problems. Now, I'm not saying that, completely live in a life of oblivion or live a life of, foolhardiness. That is also not there. Some amount of stress is it's very beneficial. The amount of hormones and enzymes it releases is beneficial. It keeps us active. But the negative stress that kind of, leaves us feeling bad, helps us in, or maybe you can say makes us feel less than adequate. Those are the kind of stresses that are bad. So there are good stresses and there are bad stresses. Anything that motivates us, it's a good stress. And anything that demotivates us, creates a situation which is not favorable to us, is negative stress. And for different people, they tackle stress in different ways. There are people who take every adverse situation and try to improve on things. There are different people who go into a spiral and then, everything is just lost for them. So it is all about management of the stress. And I would define stress as any adverse situation beyond your threshold.
True, true. No, that's well said. Stress is definitely different for everyone, and I agree that you gotta take care of those cues and understand what is your triggering point, and see how to manage that. See, the problem is, Sugita, the people sometimes know there are two types of people that I generally see, many in fact, but two that I've noticed. One is that they don't know what the hell is a cue. What is that triggers them, all right? And then there are others who know what exactly triggers them. It's just that they don't know how to control it, the latter part, what happens after the triggering. So that's where the challenge come across. So like in such situations, what do you think a person can do? Probably, if I know that this particular thing triggers me, what is it that I can do to take care of that?
It is difficult to take care of that unless, we understand ourselves.
Hmm.
And that is where the problem lies. Most of us do not even know ourselves. So when we talk of understanding gaps with other people, that's a very secondary issue. The problem lies firstly with us. Whether we are understanding, I wouldn't even call it a problem. It is a situation. Either you understand yourself, or you are in the process, or you are absolutely not in that zone where you want to go deep and see, why do I behave the way I do? Why do I react to these triggers? Does it invoke any, old memory where I felt hurt? Or this is just a perception? Sometimes, it is just perceived statements, or it may mean something very different, but the way we perceive them is what triggers us. And if we don't understand what it is and give a little leeway, so that's, when I talked about building that suraksha kavach around you, that zone of protection, that buffer is also supposed to bounce back a lot of things. Like, you can consider you are surrounded by a sponge, and this sponge or this rubberized area around you, it is elastic, and it will bounce away a lot of things if you understand yourself well, whether I need to react to it or not. And if I see 3 4 years ago, I was a very different person. I used to get very easily triggered. Things used to be really bad for me. I was quite sensitive. So any small statement that somebody might have stated somewhere, maybe even months ago, if I remember that, I used to keep wallowing in pain. Why did they so? I did not mean so. So those kind of things used to keep happening. But then, after a point when my understanding became better that I don't need to react to these things, let me give the person the benefit of doubt. So I give benefit of doubt to everyone now, and that is what my Suraksha Kavach is one of the areas of bouncing back is also made up of. So, for example, there are things which others may perceive as negative, and if you just treat them neutrally, it is it is it is going to be really beneficial to you as well. So that understanding of oneself is important.
Yeah, and I think that's where the whole challenge begins, isn't it? I mean, it's really, really. I get it. I mean, the output is amazing because you're going to be a better person yourself. Uh, but doing this, the process that you said, forget the process. I mean, understanding ourselves is quite challenging in that sense, right? So tell me one thing, and this is just for my viewers as well. So let's say if somebody comes to you and seeking that they want to be a better person, right, in terms of the entire growth, because what happens is, it like you said, the healing is not just towards one thing. It's gonna take care you if you become a better person in terms of taking care of emotions well, triggers, and it also will reflect in your day-to-day life. You're gonna be probably more calm and composed, and your responses would be much better, right? So with this overall thing, how, if someone reaches to you, what are the steps, or how are you going to help them further?
Okay.
Like, what are the steps they would have to eventually go do with you, or how, what would they do?
Amit, I've got a 3 point system. It's reassess, reinvent, and redesign. And this is the fire framework, finding reality. I call this my fire framework. It is all about finding your reality. And the 3 step process helps us in going really deep into us. There are a lot of exercises, there are situations, there are human labs. A lot of confrontation needs to be done. So it's not an easy process in terms of, you can say, uh, pulling out all things from within you. A lot of things are unpleasant that we must let go of. And a lot of things, that we have held on to, toxic relationships, toxic people, toxic situations, toxic beliefs, and they keep piling up and creating issues in our lives. So it works towards, as I said, replacement, and to a large extent also letting go, decluttering. So it is not only, that we need to declutter our personal belongings. A lot of situations, people, things need to be decluttered from our life. Certain relationships that don't work, no need to, hang on to them. They can only bring you pain. So it's that 3 step process that takes people from the point of a lot of pain to much more calmer situation. And obviously, on the way, we also do a lot with health. There are changes that we must make to our lifestyle. There are changes we must make to our thought process, how to purge negativity, how to not attract negativity. So, all these things form part of that process.
Wow. This one, wow, it's always like that. When I talk to my guests, the time flies. uh, just one more question before I ask my last question, actually. So I find a lot of people, whom I talk to. So I'm a project manager. I talk to a lot of people, and one of the things that people always feel is that, when we talk about motivation, when we talk about this personal thing, okay, so which is something that you have to work on yourself, people either they don't take it seriously, or they think it's a BS in a way, So how do you? I mean, it's not that I have to make them realize, but sometimes I know that, if this person just takes care of certain aspects of life in their themselves, their life would be a little better. or the responses would be better. How do you help such people? I mean, just thought about it. Like,
Amit, till a person does not realize that things need to change, it is very difficult to really help them. That realization has to be there internally, that something is amiss or something is not balanced out. So, a balanced life is very different from an imbalanced life.
mm,
And the reason we have this imbalance is we don't live authentically. We follow the herd, right? We have that herd mentality. So, engineering, if that is the subject of choice, we find everyone is doing engineering, whether they are made for it or not. If medicine is the running trend, and in the Indian environment, we live with those very specific stereotypes: engineering, medicine, law, and being a teacher. So, we don't see beyond these things. Maybe, we have some beautiful talent we can share with the world. None of us thinks on those lines. Just trying to emulate others will never help us in growing. And that is one of the main reasons of our unhappiness.
mm,
And the next part is we don't work hard enough. If
okay.
if there are situations, we never work hard enough to change them. If there are people around us, we don't work hard enough to either change them or our response to them, or maybe just move away from that relationship. So we
Mm,
continue in that state, and then we keep blaming the situation for having caused problems for us. So that realization has to be from our side, that there is something amiss before we actually start changing ourselves. And if a person is not really in a zone where they realize that, I think anyone trying to help them is just banging their head against a wall.
true, true. Yeah, I agree. Because the reason I asked this is because, like I said, it's not that I'm perfect, but I at least have that, we call it as growth mindset or whatever, but I have that hungerness to at least see that, okay, there's an improvement, area of improvement, and let me try to do that. Okay. But then there are people, because you work in a project environment, right? And the most important thing in this is collaboration, right? And collaboration would help when there is a growth mindset thought, because then you're like, all right, let me do something, and let me try to collaborate, you know so I just thought I'll ask you this, because it helps me personally, and of course I can also take this as a snip and share with my group team and my viewers, so that they can understand better, because sometimes you got to let them hit rock bottom, I guess. uh, I think that's the probable solution for such folks.
Yes, you can give them a little information or feedback, but
Mm,
then that person has to be in that zone that they are willing to accept that feedback. And if they are not, there is not much you can do about it. You can tell them to think about it. But I think in the present environment, the world we are living in, it is remarkable, and it is really beautiful to see that people realize that they must improve. And even the most stubborn people are willing to listen. Rarely I come across people who are not willing to either take feedback or, know that there is something wrong with them. So I think the modern times, people say this is Kali Yuga and they talk about the bad things. I feel we are evolving as a human race. We are undergoing an evolution. And this is the mindset evolution or the personal evolution that we can call. All of us are trying to make an impact in ourselves, uh, on ourselves to, improve in various ways.
wow, that's really well put. Evolution in ourselves, yeah. It's an evolution of the mindset and personal realization and so on. That's nice. That's really nice. All right. In fact, I'm sorry, one more question. How can people connect with you? Like I've just mentioned there in my, when I sent a message out in all the platforms, I've mentioned to Google Sugeeta Madan. But is there any other way so that people can connect with you, and if they need some help and advice to change their lives?
Sure. I am on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, I'm everywhere. Uh, if anyone needs help, they can definitely message me. on any of the platforms.
Fantastic. And I've also tagged Sugita, just for the viewers, I've also tagged Sugita on Facebook and LinkedIn. So that post that you guys saw, please make sure to just click on her name and you can, connect with her there. Wonderful. Now, Sugita, we're at the end of our show. And I just want to ask this one common question that I ask all of my guests is that do you believe or do you think that sharing stories can actually impact?
Absolutely. Amit, we live in the internet world. And if we are not connecting with people across the globe to learn from them, whether it is through any medium, I think we are not being fair to ourselves. And the best way to connect is through stories, because that is how we share our authenticity and our vulnerabilities with people. And all of us, I think, when we let down our guard, we show what we really are and what we stand for, and that helps in people connecting with us. So stories is the best way to do that. And thank you so much for bringing everyone's stories to each other so that we are better connected and people understand that it is okay to let down your guard and share what is the reality of your life.
Thank you. Thank you very much for to you and to all my lovely guests who have been here to share their story on the first place. Because believe me, when I started, it wasn't easy to ask people, and they're like, "Oh my God, what I'm gonna share." But thank you very much for that. And with that, I'm gonna give the mic to Sugita just to share some wisdom. But to all the viewers here, if you want to connect with Sugita, learn more about the healing process, how you can change your life so that you can make better decisions, take care of your family and your mental state, and stay calm and composed in most of the situations, especially during this so called internet zone. We are in a global economy here now, so you're going to meet a lot of people, different sort of people, so it's always nice to be at a better state of mind. To do that, please connect with Sugita. You can do it on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can just Google her name as well and find out more. And if you want to come to my show, like how Sugita came and shared her story, just ping me and I'll ping you back. With that, Sugita, first of all, thank you very much and for coming to my show and sharing your personal story and all the lovely wisdom that you have shared and the golden nuggets. Now,
Pleasure is
over to
all
you.
mine, Amit. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you very much once again. I always tell this to my guests that it's you who are here. I'm just have a platform to share your story. And over to you, Sugita, for your last words to the guests.
So, I would like to close this by saying that life is all about living. If we are there on this earth, we are there for a purpose. Otherwise, we might have been an amoeba or maybe a little snail somewhere. But if we are there as human beings, I think we are the highest form of intelligence so far known to man. And we must make the best use of this life by living well. Living well means living authentically, just not copying people, but living for what you are made. You may be made for impacting people, you may be made for serving people, or you might be made for inventing a new device or some intellectual property, or you may be just made for creating beautiful music. So do that. Live authentically. That's it
Wow.
from my side, Amit.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's well said. I'm not gonna say anything. Leave the cachet there. Sugita, thank you once again for coming onto the show. And my lovely viewers, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. It's Amit here. It's already 9:15 p.m. in Melbourne, and I think it's around 4ish in India, I
Yes,
guess.
it's
Yeah,
3:45.
3:45. So enjoy the rest of the day in India. And Sugita, once again, thank you very much and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Amit. Bye bye.
Bye.